Unbroken. The true story of Louis Zamperini. Louis Zamperini was the kind of kid no one believed in. He was the neighborhood troublemaker in a small town in California, always stealing, fighting, getting into trouble. Police officers knew him by name. Teachers had given up. Neighbors whispered, "That boy's gonna end up in jail or worse." But someone believed in him. His brother. One day, his brother gave him an old pair of running shoes and said, "Don't run from your problems. Run toward something better." So Louis ran. He ran from judgment. He ran from the weight of people's expectations. And he ran into history. At 19, Louis qualified for the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, running in front of tens of thousands of spectators, and Adolf Hitler himself. He didn't win a medal, but he ran the fastest final lap ever recorded in the 5,000 meters. Hitler asked to meet him. But fate had bigger plans. When World War II broke out, Louis traded his running shoes for combat boots and joined the U.S. Air Force. One day in 1943, while on a search mission over the Pacific, his plane crashed into the ocean. Of the 11 men on board, only 3 survived. Clinging to a life raft under the scorching sun, surrounded by sharks and silence, Louis drifted, with no food, no water, and no rescue in sight. Day after day passed. One man died. Louis and the other survivor held on for 47 days, a record no one thought humanly possible. When they finally saw land, it wasn't safety, it was enemy territory. They were captured by the Japanese. And that's when the real nightmare began. The prisoner who wouldn't break Louis was thrown into a series of POW camps, starved, beaten, humiliated. But worst of all, he caught the attention of a sadistic officer named Mutsuhiro the Bird Watanabe, who made it his mission to break Louis's spirit. Louis was beaten daily, forced to perform grueling labor, and even made to stand for 37 straight hours with arms raised, under threat of death if he dropped them. One day, Watanabe lined up hundreds of prisoners and forced each one to punch Louis in the face. If anyone refused, they would be beaten. Louis took every punch. His body was broken, but his soul unshaken. "They could beat me," he later said, "but they couldn't take my dignity." The return home, and a new battle. After Japan surrendered in 1945, Louis was finally freed. He returned home a war hero, but haunted by trauma. He had nightmares. He drank. He almost lost himself, until one day he attended a revival meeting by evangelist Billy Graham. That night, Louis fell to his knees. He gave up the anger, and he forgave. Yes, he forgave the men who tortured him. He even returned to Japan and embraced his former captors, not with hatred, but with peace. The legacy of a warrior. Louis went on to become a global speaker, sharing his message of resilience, forgiveness, and faith. He lived to be 97 years old. His story became a best-selling book and the major film Unbroken, directed by Angelina Jolie. And what's the lesson? You can be knocked down. You can be wounded, beaten, broken. But as long as you refuse to give in, you are never truly defeated. Louis didn't just survive, he overcame. And he left behind a legacy that whispers to each of us, stand tall, endure, and no matter how dark it gets, never, ever break.